Welcome to Whisperer of Madness. If you're enjoying the story, consider liking the video and subscribing. It really helps grow the channel and this community. Transformation, the second layer of Nightmare Island, was constructed of numerous dreams. Leyland now wandered through many dreams, looking for an opportunity to break through. He felt weightless again and found his surroundings changed once more. Arden had now grown into a young man, but the scar on his cheek had not disappeared. He'd activated some sort of talent in that life or death fight to successfully survive the attack, and was now an apprentice of the Nightmare Wizard. The Nightmare Wizard's method of teaching his apprentices was very crude, and he had several apprentices like Arden who were treated almost inhumanely. Many died, and only Arden's desire for revenge allowed him to persevere and strengthen himself rapidly. Many of these dreams involved him with a female junior, creating some of his most tender memories. Next is a great darkness. That must be the reason he transformed. Leyland muttered to himself, both hands waving to create strange runes as he broke through this dream, entering deeper levels. What appeared in front of him was darkness was so dense that it could not dissipate. Endless malicious intent converged to its limit, attacking his senses and almost turning him insane. Nothing can hold me back. Leyland looked indifferent as he took a step forward. BZZT. BZZT. The darkness separated, revealing orange dots of candlelight. There were many fragmented and incoherent scenes here. Keek! Dear apprentices, your last test is to kill each other in this pocket dimension. Only one can survive, and that person will absorb all of your life forces and ingenuity, becoming my most outstanding disciple. The Nightmare Wizard laughed wildly, sending all of his apprentices to a bloody pocket dimension. Arden clenched his fists, glancing at the female apprentice who was like a white lotus next to him. She now looked slightly pale, and while she at most could be considered graceful, she still had a unique aura that captured his heart. No, there has to be another way, there has to. Arden bit his lips till blood was spilt. The next dream should be in a bloody pocket dimension. This level of darkness was nothing to Leyland. With a slight caress with his right hand, he seemed to push a curtain aside. However, the next scene surprised him. Torrential rain fell, and terrifying dream force spread everywhere. The area looked to be full of debris, and there had evidently been a great battle here. Ha! Arden, my dearest disciple, are you going to betray me? The Nightmare Wizard, formed of numerous shadows, watched the young Magus in front of him. This was obviously Arden, who now only wished for his master's death. He'd lost one of his eyes, and the other had turned purple. Do you not know that my nightmare clones have spread across the whole world? Without the determination to destroy the world, don't you know you can't kill me? The Nightmare Wizard laughed madly, a dreamforce spell forming a three-headed helldog. Hellfire blazed as it ruthlessly pushed Arden to the ground. I was the one who taught you all your magic, so what are you going to use against me? He continued to snicker wildly as the bloody eyes of the figure stared at him. Speak. How do you want to die? I want you to die, Arden yelled, his arms surrounding the three-headed dog. Ow. Terrifying hurricanes formed at his forehead as a red eye opened up. Streaks of green veins protruded from it, shooting out rays that dissipated the fog and absorbed the dispelled dream force. Ah! Arden's clothes burst bit by bit, and he turned into a monstrous giant of 5 meters with a horn, red scales, and a third eye between his brows. This is the physique to absorb nightmares. How is it possible? I've already checked it before, you can't have this bloodline. Nothing is impossible, old man. Die! Arden, who had turned into a giant, grabbed forward in the air. Dark phantoms were pulled out of the dreams of numerous intellectual beings and then exterminated. So your true body was hidden in Dreamscape. I found you, Arden exclaimed, and then seemed to open a channel straight to Dreamscape. Powerful dream force forced the old Magus out. After seeing the old man, the black figures from before pounced forth, the injuries they had transferring over to him. The old man's expression quickly changed as he coughed up black blood. Hee. As expected of the nightmare-absorbing physique, the rumored favorite of Dreamscape. Cough. He actually managed to link with Dreamscape and expel my true body. Cough. Mouthfuls of black blood spurted out from his mouth, but his gaze as he watched Arden was like he was seeing treasure. Cough. The nightmare-absorbing physique has the natural ability to link with Dreamscape and absorb its origin. What I've been pursuing all my life has finally appeared before me. The old man's eyes were filled with fervor, like a devout follower finally meeting his god. Are you done yet? The giant walked over to him, the scar from the knife wound now seeming more jagged and obvious. I ensure you that even your trousseau will be crushed, and I won't give you the chance to enter the astral plane. Tremendous dreamscape origin force poured into Arden, to the point that he could even somewhat sense laws. Rumble. After the powerful tremors, Arden returned to his original state. Traces of black blood still flowed from his right fist. Henceforth, I am the Nightmare King. Light flashed and the scene changed. Little Arden, the great wizard Poffert is here to recruit an apprentice. You must succeed this time. Arden's mother urged him repeatedly. As expected, the dreams are repeating themselves. Is this a maze formed of the life experiences of that Nightmare King? If I can't break the seal and find the entrance to the third level, I might be trapped to death here. Leyland watched the scenes a second time, feeling like a movie was being replayed. But the nightmare-absorbing physique, I never thought it actually existed. Ancient records say that those with such a physique are the darlings of dreamscape and can even have dreamscape origin force poured into their bodies. They are treated even better than the children of plains. This physique can absorb a large amount of dream force and compensate for its weak phase. The Nightmare King must be incomparably close to rank 9. But how do I get out of this dream maze? The AI chip's light shone in Leyland's eyes. Based on the AI chip's observations and calculations, there were 38 key points in the dreams just now that could have changed his fate. There are 34,198 chances to indirectly change it. But most important is probably the lost memory of the battle in the pocket dimension. I'll try them one by one first. Plan 1. Leyland pushed at the milk on the table, causing a large cup of milk to splatter onto Arden's clothes. Ah, what's going on, Arden? Your clothes, the housewife cried. Are you going to meet that esteemed wizard in this state? I'm sorry, Mama. I'm going to change now. Little Arden ran into the next room and began to change his clothes. As expected, his efforts had led to Arden staying inside the house. Immediately after, a huge explosion burst out and enveloped the building. Lights flashed, and the scene changed again. Little Arden, the great wizard Poffert is here to recruit an apprentice. You must succeed this time. Arden's mother urged him repeatedly. All right, looks like killing Arden won't work. I need to try something else. Leyland had no choice but to watch this scene unfold again, and he began more tests. Getting him to escape and then study under the nightmare wizard. Fail. Saving his parents and having the whole family move to another city. Fail. Accident during experiment finding a new strength system. Fail. It's already the 17,862nd time. My spiritual energy can't hold on much longer, but I've already found the key to proceed to the key memory region. Leyland now looked resolute. The scene had changed to the time when the nightmare wizard had wanted the apprentices to kill each other. After so many experiments, I finally found the key point. Dreamforce, stop. The scene froze with Leyland's will. Be it the crazy laughter of the nightmare wizard or the worried apprentices and Arden biting his lips, everything stopped like a statue. The world lost all its color in that instant, turning monochrome like a photograph. Leyland headed to the female apprentice that Arden had feelings for, staring at the jade pendant on her chest. It had a white lotus on it. Break! Concentrated dreamforce passed through the pendant like a needle, and the entire scene seemed to shatter like porcelain. The dream no longer repeated, and everything descended into darkness. 2 paths flickering with dark red light appeared in front of Leyland, and there were even strange eyes on him from the back of the paths. One of these 2 should lead to the third layer, and the other should be the sealed memories. Leyland stroked his chin. If I were the Nightmare King, finding out that an outsider dared peep on my sealed memories would make me. Present Leyland had a critical decision to make. At one end was heaven and the other hell. He could enter the third layer of the island to find the legacy of the Nightmare King. On the other hand, the consequences could be dire for entering the hidden memories. Of course, Leyland was unsure of the way this king thought. Perhaps he wanted to share his memories with other magi and wanted to slaughter those who wanted to get the legacy. Most importantly, all detection methods are useless. I have no idea what's at the end of the paths. Leyland's scalp began to tingle. He was a fairly conservative person. While he'd braved many dangers, he only did things when he had a 70–80% assurance of success. This half-and-half situation caused him to hesitate. I hate things that are so difficult to grasp like luck. It kills me, Leyland complained. His luck was average, but he hated having to do things like following the will of the heavens. Right now, however, the choice wasn't in his hands. The surrounding dreams began to shatter and would soon affect him. They wouldn't pull him into another cycle, but rather twist and crush him into powder without leaving even his trousseau behind. What do I do? Do I choose one at random? With this probability, it's two. Leyland began to get nervous. This was a rather new feeling, and he was somewhat savoring it. Left. I sense large amounts of chaotic concepts and coordinates on the left. This should be the third layer. After a lot of analysis, Leyland gritted his teeth and made his decision. Whoosh. At this moment, however, something sounded in his body, causing his expression to change. He looked down abruptly to find that it was from his bag of holding. It's that thing! Silver light flashed, and an ancient animal hide scroll appeared in front of Leyland. Fresh blood still dripped from stains on it, and sound, light, and even the shattered time and space began to distort in front of the scroll. This is the power of distortion, the might of distorted shadow, Leyland muttered. As ancient magi or even allies, distorted shadow's remains alarmed the Nightmare King. Boundless distorting power took shape, and the two dark red paths were affected as they twisted and fused under this energy. BZZT, BZZT. After the light dissipated, the two paths had become one, forming an even larger spatial gate. Blood-red Dreamforce runes flickered on it. What a sly Nightmare King! He even had this planned. Now, Leyland didn't even have a choice. He rubbed his nose and turned grim, glancing at the scroll before stowing it away. The surface of the scroll was now very soft. It squeezed under pressure from Leyland's fingers, no longer having the power it once did. It was like an ordinary magic scroll. However, he did not dare underestimate this thing. This scroll has distorted Shadow's strength and even conscience sealed inside. Seeing that this item was adamant on following him, Leyland could only roll his shoulders back and accept it. This body was a mere clone after all. At worst, he could abandon it even if it caused grievous injuries to his main body. With enough strength to protect himself, he naturally feared nothing and had the guts to try everything. No matter what it is you want me to do, you have to give me benefits first. Leyland's eyes glinted with intelligence as he placed the scroll away, streaking into the spatial gate, the third layer of Nightmare Island. As expected, the extent of Dreamforce contamination here is even worse. This place has only the purest intent. Leyland now found himself unable to sense his own body, only able to exist as the most fundamental form of his soul and conscient. He was surrounded by a boundless universe, filled with the feeling of weightlessness. Leyland seemed to be a lonesome boat in the turbulent seas. There was no concept of another existence around, and only nothingness. Leyland had no qualms in believing that he would stay like this until the world was destroyed if he did not make the first move. Having lost his body, his sense of time began to slow. He had no idea whether seconds had passed or tens of millennia. All he felt was that the sense of self he had was gradually vanishing. No, this won't do. I have to persevere. Once my sense of self disappears, my true soul will also disappear. Leyland abruptly burst forth with strength, and his willpower took control all his thoughts. His body suddenly condensed and became distinct. Ha! How is this third layer of defense constructed? Even the essence of Magus concepts are dissipating. Having reinforced his sense of self, Leyland glanced fearfully at his arms that had formed once more. This is the Lost Land, and also the place where the Nightmare King lost his self. A few black feathers fell, and Leyland found a black crow was flying towards him. In this void with only concepts and no matter, a crow was something very strange. What caused Leyland even more astonishment was that it could move about freely in this void. We meet again, mister. The black crow combed its feathers and greeted him happily. Have we met before? Leyland asked, confused. To me it's in the future, but for you it's in your past. My future form is a single-eyed owl. The crow was a chatterbox. Single-eyed owl. Leyland immediately recalled the time after he'd advanced to rank 5, when he'd been afflicted with a dreamscape curse. He obtained a present from the owl within a dream then, allowing him to come into contact with Dreamforce. Apologies, but may I know who you are? Leyland asked the question he wanted to. Me. I'm just a mass of concepts. I shall exist as long as Dreamscape survives. Leyland had a feeling that this crow or owl or whatever it was wasn't speaking the truth, but he did not fixate himself on that. You're saying this is the place the Nightmare King lost his sense of self. What does that mean? Has he fallen? Who did it? As long as the Nightmare King did not want to die, nobody could make it happen. Here, however, he abandoned his sense of self. This means he's completely dead, without even a fragment of his true soul left behind. The crow seemed to know about matters of ancient times very well. If he's abandoned his sense of self, doesn't that mean he's committed suicide? So when the Nightmare King invaded the world of gods, he was already determined to die. Leyland had a feeling that perhaps the Nightmare King Arden had died long before. After the bloody battle in the pocket dimension, the Arden that still existed had only been a walking piece of flesh. However, he was far too powerful to the point that he could not even kill himself. Was that why he needed help from the gods? As expected, high-ranked magi mostly have mental issues. It's too serious with the Nightmare King. I can't become like him in the future. The example this senior set gave Leyland a good warning. A real peak rank 8 Magus would never be able to fall if they did not want to die. This was the case with Distorted Shadow. He had already died for tens of thousands of years and yet could still create trouble. The Nightmare King was bent on dying, which is why he had truly died. Well then, Magus, tell me your intent in coming here. The crow opened its beak, its two black beady eyes looking mischievous. Leyland gritted his teeth and spoke anyway. I hope to obtain the legacy of the Nightmare King. At the very least, I want to find a method to evade the weakening of Dreamforce. Grasping Dreamforce? Caw-caw. That's not very easy. Are you sure you want to do that? The crow asked. I'm very sure. Leyland answered seriously, eyes filled with resolution from his pursuit of truth. There was no fear of death. Caw-caw, good, I see Arden's shadow on you. The crow cawed, and its body started changing. Whoosh. It suddenly swelled, turning from the size of a dove to that of a large, evil dragon, jet-black neck showing dense black scales. Its beak widened to reveal sharp teeth like those of sharks. Ka-cha! A strike of blood-red lightning fell right on the forehead of the strange black dragon, turning into a bloody third eye. This. Such a tremendous change had Leyland stunned. Accept it. This is a gift from Dreamscape. The strange black dragon howled, the bloody third eye turning into a ray of light and disappearing into Leyland's forehead. Agony. Leyland felt everything go black as he felt himself being torn into, collapsing into a dead faint. Large amounts of dream force flooded into him like a tsunami, enveloping his body completely in a huge crimson cocoon. When the tide of Dreamscape weakened, the crimson cocoon had disappeared. Only the black crow was still around. Old friend. After helping you this time, I've repaid all my debts to you. The crow murmured to the air, its body becoming less corporeal as it disappeared into the vast nothingness. Rank 19 * rumble. The pirates witnessed a marvelous scene outside the forest. The thick red fog that shrouded the forest transformed continuously, dissipating to reveal the original lay of the land. The earth trembled as numerous small cracks and even pits appeared in the ground. At the very center of the island, the bare mountain peaks issued a wrathful roar. Fiery lava shone faintly as it flowed over with agitation. This is bad. Earthquake. The island is about to erupt. My lord. Where is the lord? Callan didn't care at all about those worried native slaves and pirates. He rushed to the border of the forest in search of Leyland's figure. This wasn't due to loyalty. He knew that if he dared to abandon Leyland and flee in secret, the enraged Scarlet Witch would flay him alive. The island was flooded with an aura of death and despair. Many creatures fled from the thickets, the small cracks in the rocks, and through underground caves to escape. It became an exodus, and even the little ants had bored out from their tunnels beneath the ground. Damn, how could these natives have settled their tribe on a volcanic island? Why weren't there any signs before? Large droplets of sweat beaded on Callan's forehead. However, the gods above seemed to hear his prayers. Just when Callan was prepared to abandon everything and flee, he finally spotted Leyland's silhouette near the forest border. Oh, thanks to the ocean goddess. My lord, you finally appeared. Let's quickly leave this place. Leyland seemed rather distracted, however, and he caressed his forehead as if he didn't hear a single word that Callan said. Just when Callan was considering carrying this lord's body away, Leyland's eyes finally regained their vigor. This place is now useless. Let's go. Yes, sir. Callan's eyes were overflowing with hot tears. He felt as if he had just heard the most pleasant words he would ever experience in his life. The pirates were masters of handling ships. Although they had wasted quite a bit of time, they still managed to leave Nightmare Island before the volcano fully erupted. Rumble. Strong black flames rose into the skies, covering the bright white moon. Only in the skies of Nightmare Island would the moonlight become purple on the light of the full moon, and now it would never happen again. The fiery red lava flowed in streams resembling human arteries as they snaked across the entire volcano. It even spread relentlessly to the area outside of it. I never thought that the island was on a fire ley line. Once the Dreamforce suppressing it was gone, the volcano immediately erupted. Perhaps this eruption was even more berserk because of the long suppression. This entire Nightmare Island probably won't exist any longer. Leyland looked expressionlessly at the distant island, which was now engulfed in lava. Right now, all his attention was captured by the AI chip's information records. Beep. Sustained unknown influence. Scanning has suffered interference. Effect has been temporarily lost. Beep. Intense interference. Currently, the third level of the lock relates to memory. It made the AI chip unstable for a while too, really terrifying. However, Leyland shifted his attention to the densely packed prompts below it. Beep. Host's true soul has suffered unknown interference. Probability of radiation to the body in the Magus world is 98.77%. Initiating separation. Experiencing interference. Separation has failed, unable to complete the task. Ah, Leyland breathed in a lungful of cold air. So even my main body's true soul was affected. Dreamforce is truly nefarious and frightening. After displaying this record, the AI chip's information seemed to flow even more smoothly. It seemed as if the earlier interference had completely disappeared. Beep. Host has absorbed a great amount of energy essence. Determined to be mutated Dreamforce. Initiating absorption. Beep. Host has absorbed mutated Dreamforce, Spirit +1. Beep. Host's Arcanist ranking has increased, currently rank 19. Arcane Energy +10. Obtained feat. Dreamscape View obtained specialty. Illusions. Beep. Host's soul has advanced. Level 6 Weave fully analyzed. Host has obtained all rank 6 spell models and is immune to forgetting them. No materials are required to cast rank 6 spells. Beep. Host has advanced to rank 19. Spell slots obtained. Rank 9. 1 rank 8, 1 rank 7. 1 below these messages were introductions to the 2 feats. Dreamscape View. Host possesses the ability to see through Dreamscape, can now look straight at the souls of other people. Any concealment will be rendered immaterial, and nothing can hide from the host's eyes. Illusions. Host automatically grasps illusions, granting an additional 20% to the power of illusory spells. The AI chip once again refreshed Leyland's stat window. Leyland Fallen, age 24. Race, human, rank 19 Arcanist. Strength 15, agility 15, vitality 15, spirit 19, arcane energy 190. Status healthy. Feats sturdy, erudite, intermediate perfect body, dreamscape view. Specialties: arcane energy detection, arcane amplification, illusions, progress of weave analysis. Level 0 100%, level 1 100%, level 2 100%, level 3 100%, level 4 100%, level 5 100%, level 6 100%, level 7 77.99%, level 8 38.21%, level 9 0.11%. Spell slots: rank 9 1, rank 8 3, rank 7 5, rank 6, rank 5, rank 4, rank 3, rank 2, rank 1, rank 0. I've finally reached rank 9 of the weave. Is this the limit of the weave's casting ability? Leyland shut his eyes and sensed the weave's network across the entire world of gods. After the first 10 levels of the weave, after rank 0 to rank 9, there seemed to be an even more vast world out there. However, their souls were tightly shackled, unable to continue connecting to the weave. It looks like the forbidden domain of the gods exists past rank 9, Leyland muttered to himself. He had his own hypotheses on what came after the 9th level of the weave. It could very well be the gods' divine spell network, the personal network that the gods had made for themselves. Using the weave to transmit divine spells. It could very well reduce the consumption of the gods considerably and make it easier for them to cultivate followers. These gods have calculated it all very well, however. Leyland controlled himself from speaking any further, as it was not something he could deal with at his current level. I'm close to becoming legendary now. Being rank 19, I'm only half a step away. I should refine my own power as quickly as possible, stepping into the domain of legendaries. Only true legendaries have a say in the continent. A rank 20 only had a few extra spell slots, not much different from a rank 19. The difference came in the refinement of their power, something that allowed them to perfect their theory. Leyland thought of records chronicling the advancement of wizards. Although every legendary could still advance further, they had all walked to the peak of their own paths. Their theoretical knowledge was extremely rich. It's even more complicated to become a legendary arcanist. I need to condense my theories into a skilled tree or a circulating energy loop. However, this won't be a problem for me. All that's left is the work on refining energy. Leyland touched his forehead, a puzzled expression on his face. The previous situation with the third level of the dreamscape lock surfaced before his eyes once again. Only now, his forehead gleamed pure white, as if there were no abnormalities. The final gift, what on earth did it mean? His visit to the nightmare world had allowed him to absorb a great deal of dream force and pushed his ranking to rank 19. However, Leyland was not granted his greatest wish of obtaining the Nightmare King's inheritance and the method to avoid the exhaustion of dream force. Was this created by Dreamscape? Leyland looked at his hands. The white palms contained unyielding power, but Leyland felt that his corporeal body had already been perfected to its limits. However, at every day and in every moment, he still tirelessly absorbed the nearby light and electromagnetic waves to refine his power. This was all to break through his bottleneck. After walking out of Nightmare Island, I keep feeling that I have changed greatly, yet I can't place my finger on how exactly I've changed. Leyland's eyes held a trace of suspicion. Where are we headed, my lord? Let's go to Pirates Cove first, Leyland replied. When he turned his head, however, all he saw was Callan, who had fallen to his knees in shock, his complexion deathly pale. What's the matter? Nothing. There's nothing wrong. Your humble servant has bad eyesight. Callan had a flattering smile on his face. He left at lightning speed while murmuring to himself, I must have drunk too much rum. How can Lord Leyland have 3 eyes? And those blood-colored patterns on his face, ha ha ha. Callan shook his head with all his strength, as if trying to shake the memory of Leyland out from his head. However, he discovered that no matter what he did, his arms and legs still involuntarily trembled. He could only crawl his way back to his bedroom with the support of the wall. 3 eyes and blood-colored runes. What Callan did not know was that his mutterings in the ship's hold had all been heard by Leyland. After he left, Leyland conjured up a water mirror with a wave of his hand. What appeared in the mirror was the appearance of a young noble. His complexion was a little wan, with sky-blue eyes as deep as the ocean. His golden curls fit with his thin lips, and he was handsome, without any abnormalities whatsoever. Nightmare form, what Leyland saw in his reflection did not put him at ease. He instead grew even more grim. Is this an evolution of the true soul? He touched his forehead, and all of a sudden he felt an intense pain that caused him to close his eyes. The next time he opened them, he found a red streak at the middle of it. Whoosh! Water droplets dispersed to reveal Leyland's serious expression. The physique to absorb the energy from nightmares, from a bloodline. Leyland rubbed at his forehead, now at a loss. AI chip, check my bloodline. All sorts of scanning runes were activated within the wizard tower, and scanning light immediately gathered upon Leyland's body. He was back on Fallen Island. He'd met up with Isabel for a bit at Pirates Cove. He decided on the next path for the Scarlet Tigers, and was then at ease to solve his own issues. He'd already given control of the tower to the AI chip. He was using its power to check the abnormalities on his body. Beep, mission established, scanning. Host's blood is 99.99999% pure-blooded human. So nothing can be found. Use the atomic microscope and level 2 antimatter observation. Continue scan. Leyland sounded grim. Beep, obtained host's blood, magnifying specimen. The AI chip immediately showed a screen with Leyland's blood sample. 100,000x, 1,000,000x. The image was magnified 10 million times. Leyland had to reach the smallest unit of his previous world, the limits of the subatomic level, to find the problem. This, Leyland's eyes widened. He saw a few strange black dots amongst wandering photons. Lock onto that. Enlarge it. The black dot moved extremely quickly, but at the end, it was still successfully caught by the AI chip. Slowly, the appearance of the dark shadow appeared in front of Leyland. This was a hexagonal structure with strange patterns on it. The patterns were rather complicated, in the shape of dark red flowers that gradually evolved into a scaly giant with 3 eyes. The bloody third eye at the middle seemed to have a will of its own as it stared at Leyland indifferently. Thud, thud, thud. Leyland took several steps backwards, the surprise on his face more evident. As expected. My body was implanted with a portion of the nightmare-absorbing body's bloodline abilities at the 3rd level. With his main body imbued with the power nearly equal to a rank 7 Warlock, Leyland was definitely no stranger to bloodline power. I just wanted some information. What are you giving me bloodline strength for? Leyland now felt himself growing dizzy. It was like a beggar asking for some humble pie being given a mountain of gold. What kind of physique was this nightmare-absorbing body? It was one of the most powerful bloodline abilities, something that allowed the Nightmare King to immediately start a massacre the moment he activated it. With the origin force of Dreamscape, he'd shot up to become a peak Magus of the ancient world in one go. Leyland was very vigilant of such good luck. It's too impractical. There has to be something off about a strange event like this. Even if Distorted Shadow was giving me benefits in exchange for making use of me, this is a little too much. Leyland was never afraid to expect the worst of his enemies. These sudden benefits implied a huge danger was to come. But I never thought this nightmare-absorbing body wasn't a physical thing. It can even affect the true soul, including my main soul in the Magus world. As an outstanding bloodline warlock, Leyland knew that sort of bloodline ability would fuse inseparably with his soul. It would also radiate into his main body in the Magus world through strange channels. The power of Dreamscape can bypass the crystal sphere. Just a temporary energy transmission path alone would be terrifying. I must definitely grasp this strength. The ability of Dreamforce to pass through 2 large worlds caused determination to rise in Leyland's heart. I'm going to take the bait and toss the hook back. How's that? Leyland stroked his chin, a slight smile appearing on his lips. Even Distorted Shadow could not guess that he had the AI chip and could find any issues. This would be the greatest misstep in the plan Distorted Shadow had in store for him. Of course, he might have been thinking too much. All this could be an opportunity for him, but he had always liked to be prepared for the worst. AI chip, begin task, study this bloodline force. Leyland looked ruthless. Even if this would interfere with his analysis of the weave, he would not find it a pity. Months passed in the blink of an eye. Leyland was sitting cross-legged within the wizard tower, the doors and windows tightly closed as isolation runes flickered inside. If an outsider saw him as he was now, they would be scared stupid or treat him like a monster. Leyland was now nearly a giant at almost 3 meters tall. His body had red scales and strange patterns on it, his face so sinister that it could drive children to tears. There was a slight crack on his forehead, shining blood red. Formless power was attracted to this luster, transforming into a dark red fog as it seeped into Leyland's skin and became something more powerful. This strength is. Leyland's mind followed the path of the undulations and found the source, followed by scenes. The old butler Leon looked proud in Port Venus. Our young master Leyland is. In Pirate's Cove, an old pirate was teaching a few new pirates a lesson. When you come out here, foresight is the most important. There's someone more frightening than the Scarlet Witch in our crew. There were even more, though they were all scenes within the North and Dambrath Kingdom. The large batch of devil worshippers that Leyland had gathered as Kukulkan were now transmitting an unending amount of fear. This isn't faith, but some emotional force 1 level lower than faith. What's going on? Why can I take this power in now? One could only absorb faith after becoming legendary, much less this sort of low-level emotional force. However, Leyland soon found that he could easily absorb this emotional force in nightmare form, boosting his strength. Could it be that? Leyland muttered to himself, closing the 3rd eye between his brows. The numerous scenes disappeared, and the channel for emotional force closed. As expected. The power of the nightmare-absorbing body can take in all emotional forces aimed at me. The effectiveness and rate of conversion is even better than God's, and most importantly, I'm not even half a god yet. At this moment, Leyland realized the terror of this ancient physique. AI chip, has anything been found? Beep. Statistical model of host's bloodline force has been established, running with no abnormalities. Found no remnant spiritual brands. The AI chip answered loyally. There's still no problem. There's nothing left in my bloodline. Is this a real gift? Leyland shook his head, dispelling the nightmare form. He shrunk once more, returning to his original appearance. With the AI chip's help, his grasp of bloodline force far exceeded the expectations of everyone else. Now, he could basically switch between the 2 forms smoothly. The nightmare-absorbing body is a special physique from Dreamscape. Seems like I'll have to head over to that world a few times in the future. Leyland muttered to himself, In addition, with the rate the physique absorbs emotional force, I might be able to raise my Arcanist ranking very soon. At this moment, the Tower Genie's clear voice interrupted his thoughts. Master, Gold Priest Xena has come to pay a visit. Xena, get her to wait for me at the drawing room. Leyland shook his head, draping a white bathrobe around himself. But my form after the second transformation might lead to some associations. It's best to use it as little as possible in the world of gods. A moment later, Leyland had tidied everything up and met the priestess of the goddess of wealth in the drawing room. Wizard Leyland truly is great at making me wait. It's already been 2 years since the last time. Xena glared at him, looking annoyed. Ahaha, my apologies. I've been immersed in an experiment. Anyway, hasn't Master Ernest continued the trade of the devil and demon detectors? Leyland laughed and then changed the topic. May I know what you're here for today? You're in great trouble. Xena took a deep breath and spoke cautiously. Oh, have the people from the God of Murder's church made their move? Leyland got it right in one go, since there were few large organizations he had offended. Yes, one of their legendaries, Cadaver Collector Sorrows, has completed his experiments and is about to come to the outer seas. No matter where it was, a legendary was a big shot. Xena was worried that this genius wizard would not be able to pass this hurdle. But, from how he's been acting, we know he's inclined towards attacking devils and demons. Our church has dealt with him, and the intel we got is proof of that. Unfortunately, we don't know what he'll do. Actually, Xena did not think well of Leyland's future. After all, that person was a legendary. There wasn't even a half-step legendary in the outer seas, so a true legendary would be able to suppress everything. The existence of a legendary was an important standard for the prime material plane to judge the size of an organization. Sorrow's legendary. Unexpectedly, Leyland did not panic at all after hearing the news. He instead asked with interest, Please tell me what you know. We have our deal on sharing information. Xena rolled her eyes at him. Cadaver Collector Sorrows is the honorary executioner of Cyric's church. He likes to torture his target's mind, causing them to crumble and commit suicide before he takes their body. He shot to fame 281 years ago. She spoke as if she was making a report, expressionlessly introducing this person generally. Still, she couldn't keep up the facade and ended up staring at Leyland. Lord Leyland, you're still young and possess such astounding talent. It isn't a mere dream to become a legendary, but you need to accept reality. Pledge to join Goddess Walking's church and hide in the mainland. Our goddess will shield you. Xena was sure Leyland would understand, even though he would have to abandon the outer seas, including Port Venus and all other industries. After all, the Church of Wealth was more conducive to Leyland's potential than all the organizations in the outer seas. With the value he was showing, and how he was steadily raising his strength, he seemed to have more than a 50% chance to become a legendary. This was definitely an investment worth making for the Church of Wealth. However, Leyland's answer did not match up to her expectations. Thank you very much for your kind intentions, but I won't give up my work here. She frowned slightly, watching Leyland discontentedly. Do you know what a legendary is? Cadaver Collector Sorrows is an infamous assassin. Even if we sent out a legendary to protect you ourselves, you could still be killed, much less. I know all that. Leyland interrupted her, looking apologetic. I saw Her Highness Illustrial at Silveramoon. I read and studied about legendary wizards, and I know that numbers are nothing to a legendary. Leyland knew the terror of a legendary better than anyone else. They grasped the power of domains, similar to what a dragon's aura cast. No matter how many low-ranked professionals were pit against one, it was useless. In addition, legendaries had refined their life essence and could absorb and control divine force, walking the path of godhood. However, the path that Leyland had chosen was entirely different from Xena, which was why he reacted differently. Are you trying to face off against a legendary head-on? Just with a wizard tower, you'd probably be destroyed within seconds. Xena felt insulted by Leyland's arrogant tone, and especially by that resolute gaze that said he didn't need charity. You! She felt humiliated and discontent, but all that soon faded away into shock. The spell raise on your body. My rank rose a little during these past 2 years of experiments. Leyland sounded calm, as if he were describing something insignificant, yet Xena almost choked in surprise. While they were both high-ranked wizards, rank 15s were nowhere close to rank 19s. One had just entered this grade, while the other had reached the peak of wizardry, beginning to step into the domain of legendaries. 2 years. In less than 2 years, he's already become a rank 19 wizard. Xena froze as she watched the spell raise that Leyland intentionally leaked. A genius of the world of gods. No, this is more than just a genius, he's probably a monster. Outside of Chosen, he's even faster than close combat professionals as a wizard. Xena zoned out slightly. With his aptitude, she was now sure that he would definitely become a legendary if he didn't die this time. Apologies, I was too harsh with my words. Now treating Leyland as a to-be legendary, Xena's tone became more respectful. Actually, Mr. Leyland, I still stand by my previous suggestion. With your talent, there really is no need to tackle your enemies head-on in the outer sea. The Church of Wealth shall forever be your shield. Leyland naturally showed his gratitude towards Xena's kindness, but he did not relent on his decision not to dodge this, leaving Xena helpless. After sending her away, Leyland returned to the training room alone, looking deep in thought. Siric's counterattack is later than I expected. The presence of a legendary meant nothing to Leyland. After all, Tiff had become a legendary long ago, and he'd personally led a team to kill a legendary dragon. Normal legendaries did not terrify him at all. However, I can't disclose Tiff's identity or transfer him here. This makes things complicated. Leyland stroked his chin, eyes brightening. I should use this opportunity and try that. Tower Genie. Master. The female form of the Tower Genie emerged, bright eyes full of anticipation. Seal the place off. Nobody is to bother me for now, not even Ernest. Is that understood? Yes. The Tower Genie's primary objective was to carry out Leyland's orders. She obviously had no objections to this. With Leyland's will, the apprentices and even Ernest were moved out of the tower, emptying it out. Sigh. I don't know if this kid can do it. Ernest naturally knew something only higher-ups did here. While things were calm in Port Venus, he could tell that this was the calm before a storm. The pressure that a legendary could cause was far too immense. Leyland's operation was thus misunderstood to be a dangerous action to raise his strength quickly. Ernest was naturally worried. He definitely knew how intelligent his student was. There were a few materials to raise strength quickly in the research of ancient wizards. However, there was a steep price to pay. I hope he doesn't go too far. Ernest had a helpless smile on his lips. Ever since Leyland reached adulthood, he could no longer persuade Leyland even as his master. While he was still Leyland's teacher in name, Ernest knew that there was nothing he had taught Leyland other than foundational skills. Yet, he had obtained even more than he'd given. I believe in him. Sometimes, he's someone who can create miracles. Ernest kept encouraging himself. It'll be fine. It'll definitely be fine. Meanwhile, the wizard who Ernest was worried about was not conducting any taboo experiments within the tower. However, in some sense, the method Leyland was using to gain strength was more dangerous than the methods of ancient wizards. There aren't any living beings in the tower anymore. I don't have to worry about my secret being discovered or leaked. Begin. Whoosh. A layer of dark red patterns appeared on Leyland's skin. He swelled strangely and broke through his casual clothes in an instant. His forehead also split vertically to reveal the third eye. Nightmare form. Leyland was now demonstrating the Nightmare King's nightmare-absorbing body. Absorb the wandering emotional force. The vertical eye on Leyland's forehead opened slightly, emitting red light that broke through space to connect to all emotions related to him. It was like a spider web. Reverence, fear, love, hatred. Dense emotional force was originally formless and therefore useless. However, the vertical eye turned it into a dark red fog that was then devoured by the nightmare-absorbing body. This force was intensified, and the blood-red runes on his body grew more dazzling. In essence, faith is just extremely dense emotion. It contains energy dispelled from soul undulations. The nightmare-absorbing body is terrifying. As long as it has to do with the host body, any emotional force, no matter how meager, can be used. Leyland's eyes were now completely blood-red, and a large serpent appeared behind him. This was the Targaryen, big as the world, with black scales, devilish wings, terrifying claws, and a single horn at the top of its head. HSS! The Targaryen had now transformed slightly. Traces of dark red fog shrouded its body, causing its scales to begin turning dark red. A strange vertical eye appeared between the two snake eyes, splitting open. Ah! Devouring power erupt. With Leyland's control, the power of devouring and Dreamforce worked together flawlessly. The nightmare-absorbing body took in the vast jumble of emotional force, and Devour transformed it into the purest energy. After who knew how long, the AI chip's robotic voice sounded like the sweetest melody he had ever heard. Beep. Energy reserves at 100%, sending to main body. A warm surge spread throughout his body, extending to his very soul. The sound of a crystal shattering sounded, and Leyland sensed his soul go through another evolution. His very essence was baptized. Dream Eater Beep, Spirit +1. The AI chip sent another prompt as many stats began to change. Beep, Host's Arcanist ranking has advanced. Host is now a rank 20 Arcanist, Arcane Energy +10. Beep, Host has advanced to rank 20. Spell slots obtained, rank 9-1, rank 8-1, rank 7-1. Beep, Host stats have changed. Leyland Fallen Age, 24, Race, Human, rank 20 Arcanist. Strength, 15, Agility, 15. Vitality, 15. Spirit, 20. Arcane Value, 200. Status, Healthy. Feats, Sturdy, Erudite, Intermediate, Perfect Body, Dreamscape View. Specialties: Arcane Detection, Arcane Amplification, Illusions, Progressive Weave Analysis. Level 0 100%, Level 1 100%, Level 2 100%, Level 3 100%, Level 4 100%, Level 5 100%, Level 6 100%, Level 7 81.23%, Level 8 38.86%, Level 9 11.29%. Spell slots: Rank 9 2, Rank 8 4, Rank 7 6, Rank 6, Rank 5, Rank 4, Rank 3, Rank 2, Rank 1, Rank 0. I'm finally rank 20. All that's left is becoming legendary. Leyland shut his eyes. He felt an enormous wall blocking him at this moment, the boundary of the legendary realm. As a non-religious professional, he would enter the legendary realm at rank 21. This was the greatest power in the central continent, giving one the ability to determine the state of any region and absorb divinity itself. I still have one rank left to become a legendary. If I wasn't worried about the contamination from the power of emotions, I could use the law of devouring to absorb most of the energy. Perhaps it would have been possible to become a legendary directly. Although he thought this, Leyland did not have the slightest regret. The foundation was the most important thing. A lot of emphasis was placed on one's foundation in the legendary realm, and Leyland did not want to advance without caution. It could lead to detours in his future path. Beep. Nightmare absorption abilities have been activated. Host has obtained a bloodline ability, Dream Eater. The AI chip sent yet another prompt. Is this the bloodline magic ability by any chance? With Nightmare Absorption's power, the power of this magic technique should be incredibly terrifying, shouldn't it? Leyland muttered to himself irresolutely. He could be said to be an expert in exploring bloodline magic and putting it to use. Once the abilities of a warlock were combined with the power of this ancient bloodline, the results would be sure to surprise him. Bloodline ability, Dream Eater. Leyland looked at the AI chip's window on the skill and discovered nothing besides the name. Even the AI chip has no records of it in the database. Seems like it's an entirely new magic ability. I can only rely on myself to explore it and perfect it. Sorrows the Cadaver Collector was an expert wanted by the Church of Justice. His extensive criminal record was difficult to chronicle. He'd even massacred an entire town before. However, the man himself was someone who'd always been shrouded in a dark robe. Nobody knew that under this cloak, the Church of Murder's legendary honorary executioner was a boy with a warm and sunny aura. Many thanks, Uncle Newman. Sorrow slid down from an ox cart piled high with foraged grass, thanking the old man in front of him. Ah, it's nothing much. No one would reject a polite and obedient child like you a ride. Is this your destination, young fellow? The driver of the cart was a wizened old man. His arms were lean muscle, beaten by the weather. His face was wreathed in a carefree smile, revealing his sparse teeth. He had a scattered beard that looked like iron wool. I want to go to Port Venus. I heard it is the most prosperous port in the outer seas. The tall youth's expression was a little bashful, but his eyes were filled with determination. I want to earn money there, and then I can. Oh, this is my gift for letting me take your cart. Looking at the pretty little shell in the youth's hand, the old man's smile bloomed even more happily. Ha ha! Well, work hard, youngster. I wish you the best. The spiritual influence of despair held within that shell. I wonder how long it'll take to kill him off. After leaving the cart, Sorrows lowered his head. His eyes held a trace of darkness as he laughed demonically. If that old man saw how he looked now, he definitely wouldn't have let Sorrow's hitchhike on his cart. I still need to keep this identity a secret. Such a pity. Sorrows licked his lips. When he lifted his head again, his expression had already changed into that docile and harmless smile he had shown before. His youthful appearance easily gave others a favorable impression. "Big sis, could you please give me?" Sorrows chose a random inn to stay in. His words caused the middle-aged woman who was the proprietor of the inn to light up brightly. The village woman gave him a room for half the price. Sorrow's face only darkened after he entered the room and made sure he was alone. Damn it, that disgusting hog had actually dared to provoke me. If not for this mission. Oh, right. The tall boy clasped his hands. After this mission ends, I'll give this town a bloodbath. It seems that our revered god likes sacrificial rites like this anyway. Hee. As a legendary and a criminal wanted by many of the good churches, Sorrows knew how much his identity weighed on their minds. Powerful beings definitely had their own set of perverse fetishes, and Sorrows was to put on an innocent image and wait for the very last moment to reveal his true self. He would watch as his target broke down. He felt more twisted joy from this sorrow than any divine grace could give him. Of course, Sorrows himself would not explicitly admit this point. Sorrows moved towards Port Venus the next day, having gotten ample rest. He headed for Leyland's Wizard Tower. This defense system is well thought out. The detection spell formations are activated constantly. Something like this is pretty good for a place like the outer seas. A look of pity flashed across Sorrow's face. Leyland is extremely wary he'd see through any disguise straight away. Well, it isn't a big deal. I have many other skills, and this will be a good time to test them out. Sudden strike. Sorrow's body floated up into the sky, and an illusory gold claw struck the wizard tower. Red alarms flashed immediately. Warning, detected energy waves with legendary power. Tower has taken 35.99% damage. Found it, so it was here all along. Sorrow's pupils contracted as he merged into the shadows. He followed the energy pathways of the tower and arrived at a laboratory before he emerged once more. This place was likely where the core of the tower resided, and he looked at the frightened noble wizard in front of him. Legendary. You are waging a holy war. The young wizard seemed to be frightened silly, and his teeth clacked when he spoke. Only a legendary-ranked wizard tower could hold me back. Sorrow's face was full of mockery, the same way a golden lion would look at a rabbit. As if in accompaniment to Sorrow's voice, the tower genie gave off a high-pitched tone. Intruder alert. Current location, core laboratory, deploying magic gargoyles. BZZT. Sorrows made a slicing motion with his finger, cutting the image of the tower genie into pieces. You don't have to take out these toy gargoyles. Bang. He immediately turned into countless black figures, and the gargoyles that surged from the defense mechanism were all destroyed, with no life left in them. Tower core 87.99% destroyed. Operation ceased. At this point, the tower genie could not even muster a hologram of itself. Only its voice rang out as if coming from an old gramophone. How? How is this possible? The young wizard's legs buckled as he sat on the floor, staring listlessly at the ceiling. But I'd spent. This place is just like a backyard for someone in the legendary realm. Sorrows enjoyed the process of toying with his prey. The young wizard cried out, his eyes bloodshot as if he was a gambler who had lost everything. No, I still have. Roar. The young wizard's robes tore apart into pieces, releasing a mighty draconic aura. He'd become half dragon, and his skin was topped by scales. He spewed flames from his mouth, destroying all the glass apparatus in the laboratory. A half-dragon, the bloodline of a dragon species. This is your trump card. Sorrow's brows furrowed before he released his own aura. The air in the vicinity was blasted away, giving rise to a vacuum. What a pity, everything you do is in vain. The only thing left for you is death. Rumble. The mighty tower collapsed, sending smoke and dust billowed high up into the sky. Sorrows walked out of the rubble, carrying a freshly severed head that still had blood trickling down it. The draconic scales faded, revealing the pale visage of the late wizard. His eyes no longer had any trace of life, glazed like that of a dead fish. Death, something seems off. Sorrows raised his right hand as he stared into the aggrieved eyes of the incapacitated young wizard. Still, his sense of touch and various detection techniques confirmed that he was already dead. However, even Sorrows had to admit that this wizard was extremely talented. He'd become a near legendary at such a young age, possessing a powerful dragon bloodline. His battle might was already greater than that of some rank 20s. You were a genius. It's a pity mortals should never provoke God. Sorrows seemed to lament in pity as he gently closed the eyes of the wizard. At this moment, multiple figures from Port Venus had already discovered that something was amiss. They ran over, while some high-ranking priests chose to fly there directly. The goddess of wealth's church, huh? Sorrows shook his head in disdain, but did not choose to engage. He disappeared without a trace. Within the god of murder's church, the bishop looked at Sorrows with a pleased smile. Well done, my child. Now let us offer this sinner's head to our revered god. Buzz. Siric's statue let out a loud rumble once it received the sacrifice, golden divine force rippling out into the air. The sculpture soon seemed to come to life, taking the shape of a man with a wicked face. Worshipper Sorrows, you've done well. You shall get the rewards you deserve. The voice of his god's incarnation was extremely deep and magnetic. Sorrows felt an immense amount of divine force descend on his head as it sounded. This is divine grace, and of the highest grade, the bishop cried out hoarsely from the side. Seeing the traces of dark gold light falling on Sorrow's head, he couldn't maintain a neutral expression anymore. The ancient scripture detailing the sacrificial rite fell to the ground. And divinity too. Are you questioning our revered Lord's decision? Accepting copious amounts of divine force and divinity, Sorrows now looked like a golden statue. Lightning occasionally streaked within his eyes. The benefits he had observed this time was extremely huge. The god of murder had actually raised him by a rank and even granted him divinity. No, I wouldn't dare. Our god has chosen you, and you shall be his emissary on the continent. A trace of fear arose in the bishop's eyes, but his reply was still clear and distinct. The foremost authority in any church was the god themselves. Directly under them would be the bishop or chosen, and from one standpoint Sorrows' status was now equal to that of the bishop. The difference between the two was merely the amount of divine grace they had. Ha ha! Being able to look at his former superior squarely in the face, Sorrows laughed in a carefree manner, forgetting the uneasiness that he had felt despite finishing the mission. He disappeared into the void without a trace, and a single vertical eye appeared. 30 years later, Sorrows slammed an old wizard into the ground as he laughed. Ha ha, Madrid, you have never believed that you would land in my hands one day, huh? No, this is not possible. Why are you this strong? Your progression is too fast. Madrid's body was littered with injuries, and his voice was barely audible. This is all the grace of the god. Sorrows grabbed the collar of this wizard. Back then you were stronger than me in every way and even managed to become a legendary and steal Vanessa's heart. But now you're as weak as a dog. Kill me, the helpless wizard mumbled. I want you off this easily. You'll be repaid the suffering and anguish I felt all these years. Sorrows carried the wizard away. The vertical eye appeared once more, forming a crack in the void to reveal crimson light. 200 years later in the church of the god of murder. Cough, cough. The Lord Bishop looked at the dagger lodged in his chest and the high-ranking officials across him. He turned his head around in disbelief and saw the sinister look on Sorrow's face. You actually. Old fool, the cardinals and the honor guard have chosen to abandon and betray you. You're past your time now. Sorrow's smile was even more malevolent than before. Our God will never forgive. The bishop clenched these last words out of his teeth before his body combusted. An immense conscient descended to the planet. Sorrows, my lord, you are the emissary of death, the supreme amongst the stars. Sorrows knelt onto the ground. You have successfully conspired to kill the previous bishop. Well done. I hereby appoint you the next bishop of my church. I will dedicate my life to walking the path you've chosen. I shall throw the entire continent into chaos and conduct many massacres. Sorrows affirmed, his eyes turning slightly bloodshot. The vertical eye behind him was now more than half open, yet nobody could discover its presence. Time trickled by, and the Church of Murder grew under Sorrow's charge, spreading across the world of gods. Sorrows himself had managed to ascend to godhood, becoming a lesser god under Sirik. Several thousand years later, he grew increasingly dissatisfied with Sirik. He waged a holy war, managing to defeat and absorb his former master, becoming the greater god of murder, massacre, and death. Sorrows continued these wars after, building a system of faith where he was the one and only deity. Finally, he usurped the overgod's throne. He now sat on the highest pedestal of the world of gods' divine hall, his gaze passing across the rivers of time and into eternity. At this moment, the vertical eye behind him fully opened its eyes. Who is it? Sorrows felt an immediate threat to his life. It was a warning that came from the depths of his soul, a feeling that this attacker could consign him to eternal damnation. Why is there someone else in the highest of realms? Is there something that can transcend the entire world? The throne split into half as Sorrows turned around with a look of disbelief. At this moment, the giant vertical eye was omnipotent, its gaze crystal clear, as if nothing in the world could escape its eyes. A trace of crimson mist appeared, gnawing at the corners of the world of gods. Sorrows felt his hair stand on end once he saw this vertical eye. It was like this eye had been observing his every moment in life. What are you? A devil? This feeling of being pried on caused immense fury to arise in this sovereign. Ha! Divine force gathered in Sorrow's hands, turning into a purple lightning that could split the world in half. This lightning formed a spear that landed in his grasp. The spear was thrown, and it tore the void apart as it moved, carrying the various blessings of the gods. Boom! An attack which could annihilate gods struck the vertical eye, yet not a single sound was produced. It was as if a speck of dust had come into contact with a rock, dissipating just like that. How? Is this possible? I am the sovereign. The world origin force is at my fingertips. Sorrows staggered backwards, the fear in his heart growing stronger. I've seen the creation and annihilation of the world, the rise and fall of many tribes. Only the foolishness of mortals is eternal in the rivers of time. The information struck Sorrows at the deepest part of his soul, and he understood the underlying meaning within. Immortal! How can I be immortal? Sorrows let out a hollow laughter, before his face contorted. He discovered that he had turned immortal, mere flesh and blood. This feeling of falling from heaven caused him to suffer a mental breakdown. However, the vertical eye did not give him any chances for a mental recovery. It opened up and gazed at Sorrows. Rumble! The whole world was devoured by the red vertical pupil, and Sorrows was but a struggling speck of dust, screaming in anguish before finally disappearing into the pupil of the eye. In the room of an inn, Sorrows' sleeping head was sharply twisted to one side. He was dead. Leyland rubbed his temples outside the inn, seemingly exhausted. The power of this Dream Eater spell is really terrifying. To construct a complex world, even if it's fake, is just too difficult for me right now. But it was all worth it. Leyland's face could not help but change at the pleasure of devouring Sorrow's entire dream. This ability to devour dreams also allowed him to absorb the target's memories, experiences, and even more. It caused him to feel full from the essence of his very soul, and Leyland knew that he had fulfilled all conditions to become legendary. He only needed to digest what he'd absorbed. If not for using dreamscape vision and entering Sorrow's dream, I might not have had it this easy. It seems that the best way to use this Dream Eater skill is to first lure the enemy into a dream and combine with a spell. Destray Dream could do it. Having acquired what he wanted, Leyland disappeared from the inn without a trace. The outer seas basically belonged to the Fallens right now, and although it wasn't easy to conquer the entire territory, the pirate forces would pave the way for them to expand their territory. Leyland had sorted the information to identify suspicious activity and targets. He would personally confirm it all with his eyes. Sorrows had just been unlucky this time, like a beautiful butterfly having flown into an intricate spider web. Caught by Leyland's dreamscape vision, all attempts to conceal himself were to no avail. Spear Crusader, the tranquility of dawn was broken by an ear-piercing scream. With 2 buckets by her side, the innkeeper looked at a lifeless youth on the bed. This boy, who'd made her heart flutter yesterday, had now lost all traces of life. No external injuries nor any traces of spells. His identity certificate is forged. The public security officer felt a headache coming on as he hurried over to inspect the scene. His many years of experience had told him that this case was going to be very troublesome. Can it be some acute illness? The public security officer spoke in an imposing manner to mask the nervousness that he felt. Find a priest to come and pray over him, then send the corpse to the burial mound. Seeing this officer unwilling to let things get out of hand, the plump lady didn't hesitate to agree. They downplayed this death through various procedures and finally invited someone to bless the burial. However, this person wasn't an official priest. It was an acolyte handling the menial tasks of a church. The acolyte did not even have the cultivation to cast a rank 1 holy spell, let alone find out what was wrong with Sorrow's corpse. After a quick blessing, he let the men in charge of burying the corpse carry it away. The one in charge of burying the legendary ranked Sorrow's corpse was a filthy, skinny, middle-aged white man who reeked of alcohol. His blackened teeth carried a putrid odor, and he thoroughly searched through the corpse once he was outside the city. He was looking for little valuables that the corrupt official hadn't discovered. Ha! What a fair-skinned boy. A pity that the officer already squirreled away his purse and other things. Sorrow's corpse had been stripped even of its shoes. Every inch of his body that could have contained gold was looked at by this man. Sorrow's was a legendary, however, and his priceless bag of holding, spatial ring, magic artifacts, and other items had been taken away by Leyland. The officer had grabbed the gold that was left, leaving nothing for this man to take. However, just the set of clothes and shoes alone was enough to satisfy him. Hee! This kiddo is rather rich. All these clothes are worth at least 30 bronze pieces. I can visit Mary once or go to the pub and drink all night. The man looked at the stark naked corpse, nodding his head in satisfaction. Since you've given me this much, I'll dig your grave bigger than the rest. This is the outcome of a legendary like Sorrow's, huh? What a sorrowful scene. A sinister voice mocked throughout the surroundings, scaring the man away. Who is there? Zip. An icy blade flashed, and the man dropped to the floor with blood gushing from his body. A legendary who was among the top 10 experts of the church couldn't even escape death. The void warped as the figure of a high-ranked thief appeared. He masterfully picked up Sorrow's corpse, and the expression on his face grew darker. No, this isn't right. How can his body only be as resilient as a regular human's? He was a legendary. The high-ranked thief cried out, "If not for the top-secret information I received from our bishop, I would have treated him as a regular human as well. What's more, the most important thing is that the soul has disappeared completely. Such ruthless measures." The pupils of the thief narrowed, and he felt that a terrifying presence was in the vicinity. He did not dare tarry longer, and immediately vanished with Sorrow's corpse. He was only a high-ranked thief in the church, nowhere close to being legendary. If even Sorrow's had died here, wiping him off the face of the earth wouldn't be a major issue either. The thief knew this clearly, and there was no way he would stay another moment. Church of Sirik within the gloomy valley. The bishop had received this news as well. "I have already contacted our god. It seems like Sorrow's soul did not enter his divine kingdom, instead vanishing mysteriously." Was it some sort of confinement spell? A high-ranked thief chimed in from the side. "No, not confinement. It's completely missing. Even our god's imprint had completely vanished." The bishop grew extremely solemn. Legendaries were the foundation of a church, yet one of theirs had died just like that. It was an enormous blow even to an organization like theirs. Furthermore, the ability to wipe out a legendary without a trace left the others extremely uneasy. The bishop closed his eyes and pondered before speaking in an icy tone. "Find out everything for me, everything." "Yes." The thief bowed respectfully and left to pass on the orders. Although there was no evidence, he was very clear in his heart that all of this was linked to Sorrow's primary target, the noble wizard of Fallen Island. An expert who managed to kill a legendary, having me investigate this monster. Aren't you asking me to go and die? The high-ranked thief lamented to himself. Luckily, this is just an investigation mission. It looks like even the Lord Bishop himself won't carelessly go against this person. Fallen Island's Leyland. The high-ranked thief had a premonition that this wizard was the man of the moment in the world of gods. No, having showcased this power, this wizard was now a powerful player who could shake the entire continent. Leyland did not pay the slightest attention to these conjectures and the dark clouds looming in his future. After he quietly murdered Sorrows, he peacefully returned to the wizard tower without alerting a single person. What was truly terrifying was the unknown. If he revealed his ability to kill legendaries, it could lead to excessive fear of him. He needed to slowly digest the power he had devoured. The Dream Eater ability is truly the most terrifying bloodline power. The bloodline abilities it gives are also extremely demonic and powerful. Leyland sighed. He was a rank 20 wizard, while Sorrows was a legendary expert. Using an analogy in the Magus world, it was like a crystal phase Magus squaring off against a morning star. The gap between the two was as wide as that between heaven and earth. And still, the Dream Eater ability acquired through his bloodline had allowed Leyland to kill Sorrows easily. Nothing as insane as this had ever happened even in the ancient times. The barrier between ranks 3 and 4 was one of a qualitative change from spiritual force to soul force. Even an army of rank 3s would be slaughtered by a morning star, yet Leyland had managed to win across this gap. AI chip, Leyland commanded. The AI chip had already collated all the previously collected data, and it displayed the information on this bloodline ability. Nightmare Absorption Bloodline Ability, Dream Eater, allows hosts to infiltrate the target's dream world, constructing an illusion and causing their true soul to degenerate. The host can then devour the target's dream world and absorb everything. Warning: if the target's soul force is too powerful or they see through the dream world, it may injure the host in an unpredictable manner. As the host's bloodline concentration is limited, it can only be used once every 10 days. So it's a battle between souls using an illusory technique. However, with my main body's experiences, perhaps nobody except a god coming in person can best me in that regard. Leyland had a premonition that this bloodline ability would be his most important hidden killer move. Besides, using Dream Eater to devour energy seems to be even more effective than before. I can gain everything that belonged to my opponent and even walk down their path to power once for myself. The benefits from that will be immeasurable. Leyland felt that he seemed to have found the reason why that Nightmare King was incomparably powerful. The legendary body of sorrows, the cadaver collector, comprised of all his experiences as an honorary executioner. Leyland had effortlessly obtained all of this, and all that had been left was a decaying corpse. After devouring the soul of a legendary and obtaining all his experiences, Leyland had reached the threshold of the legendary realm. Ascending to become a legendary, refining my power is the first step, and the next is to cultivate my spiritual conscient and construct an inner circulatory system. I have already fulfilled all of these criteria. Leyland's eyes flashed brightly. His aura began to dampen as he entered deep meditation. Just at this moment, a visitor had arrived at Fallen Island. Lord Jeffries. Xena, the gold priest of Walking's church, bowed deeply with respect at a middle-aged man. My lord has traveled a long way. I have already prepared accommodations and everything else I entreat my lord to. Xena's voice was humble as she spoke. This person was Jeffries, the Spear Crusader. He was a legendary expert of the Church of Wealth, and his status and reputation was far above that of a gold priest like her. There is no need of that for now. I didn't come here to seek pleasure. You had better hurry and take me to see that wizard. It's difficult to protect a person being targeted by the cadaver collector. Jeffries, the Spear Crusader, had a head of long silver hair, an aquiline nose, and thick lips. He gave off a resilient and ascetic aura, and his eagle-like eyes revealed the endless turmoil within him. Although he did not intentionally release his aura, the elemental energy particles in the surroundings continuously swirled around him. This was a legendary, the goal of all professionals in the prime material plane. Legend understood. I'll have it done immediately. Xena lowered her head to show respect, while she sighed on the inside. They've even sent this lord over. Looks like the church thinks very highly of Baron Leyland. She could tell the favor the church had for this baron. After all, he'd created 2 great sources of revenue and improved their methods of detecting demons and devils. She hadn't had much hope with her proposal, but the fact that they'd immediately sent over the legendary Spear Crusader showed his value. It's not just his talent, but also the possibility of him becoming a legendary. Only a future legendary was worthy of the church's investment. Thinking of this, Xena couldn't help but envy Leyland. I heard that he's created many magic items to detect devils, and even our church can't make sense of them. That wizard has left us all pleasant surprised. While he was annoyed at being dispatched so urgently to deal with an ordinary human, Jeffries was rather curious about this young wizard. He's really a rather interesting person. Xena could only continue speaking as Jeffries asked questions, but she soon discovered a strange expression on his face. What's wrong, my lord? These undulations, perhaps. Jeffries stared at the hill outside Port Venus, focusing on the wizard tower that stood tall and grim. Where's this Leyland right now? He suddenly asked. He's inside the tower. I heard he's been conducting some important research. This child really doesn't know his priorities. Xena spoke without thinking, after which she was stunned to find that Jeffries was hurrying towards the tower. Wait, my lord, are you planning to meet the wizard right now? At the very least, you should. Jeffries seemed to have no plans of listening to her. He only proceeded forward, looking to be in disbelief. His expression. Did something happen at the wizard tower? Xena seemed confused, and she glanced at the tower in the distance. At this very moment, Leyland was indeed experiencing a transformation within the wizard tower. Normal professionals on the continent entered the legendary realm at rank 21. This involved a refining of strength, and it was as difficult as it was for rank 3 magi to advance to Morning Star. It was a sort of qualitative change, an upgrade to the very soul. Having experienced this once before, and with Sorrow's own experiences of advancing this stage wouldn't pose any difficulty to him. The AI chip was working furiously, and large amounts of data flashed by Leyland's eyes to form a few prompts. Beep. Arcane spell network construct completed. Host's internal cyclic foundation constructed. Beep. Host's spiritual force has reached the limit, breaking through and solidifying. Host is advancing to the legendary realm. At this moment, Leyland felt his soul and the weave growing chaotic. It felt as if his soul was being attacked by the weave. If I was an ordinary wizard, it would be exceedingly difficult for me to advance under such circumstances. Thankfully, I have long since become an arcanist, so my relationship with the weave isn't as close as it was before. Leyland manipulated his spiritual force with his powerful will, allowing everything to progress steadily. Finally, under immense pressure from the outside world, the misty spiritual force in his sea of consciousness abruptly gathered at the center, forming a rainbow-colored crystal. It felt as if some invisible bottleneck had exploded, and Leyland's entire soul seemed to be soaked in a hot spring. It left him feeling very comfortable. Beep. Host's spiritual force has experienced a qualitative change. Spirit +1. The AI chip prompted. Host has advanced to rank 21 and has become a legendary. A huge shock seemed to impact Leyland's very soul, to the point that he grew slightly absent-minded. Beep. Host has become a legendary arcanist and has broken through the outer weave. Contact with the inner weave initiated. Leyland's spiritual force broke through some restraints at that moment, moving past the surface levels of the weave into a deeper domain. Is this the inner weave? From his broad perspective, Leyland could see that the weave was a network that surrounded the world of gods. It had layers like an electrical network, and he'd gotten access to a golden network within. This was a channel for divine spells, numerous instances of which descended from their respective divine kingdoms like stars. They were sent down in exchange for faith. With control over the inner weave, the gods treat it as a channel for divine spells. Leyland immediately thought back to the arcanist records. Some arcanists who break through the restrictions of the weave attempted to steal divine spell slots from priests. This remote power system, the profaning of priests. While this caused discontent and a death sentence from the gods and churches, arcanists were poorly regarded to begin with. One more issue meant nothing. The benefits of breaking past the outer weave weren't limited to being able to observe and channel divine spells. Leyland could now cast legendary spells. Leyland was already as strong as the legendary arcanists of the Netheral Empire. Once he grew familiar with and recorded down the legendary arcane spells he had, even gods' avatars wouldn't be able to frighten him. The AI chip continued to flash its prompts. Beep. Advancing to the legendary realm has strengthened feats. Sturdy has become legendary sturdiness. Erudite has become scholarly. Beep. Host has obtained legendary specialty. Origin force detection, replacing arcane energy detection. More information about the feats and specialty was shown below. Legendary sturdiness. Rigorous tempering and advancement has rendered your body comparable to that of a legendary beast. Regeneration has been strengthened. Scholarly. Having accumulated a tremendous amount of knowledge, including many secret inheritances, you have explored many of the secrets of the world of gods. Appraisal has reached the maximum level, allowing you to appraise any material from the world of gods. Origin force detection. Legendary arcanists were not satisfied with casting spells using elemental energy. They set their sights on the deeper secrets of the world, discovering the existence of the world origin force. They named it origin energy and tried to control it, engendering the ire of the gods with their deep research. Origin force detection. Making use of the origin force. This is something only beings who have comprehended laws can do. Leyland sensed the majestic origin force sea of the world of gods, feeling slightly disconcerted. The Magus world only gave him an opportunity to absorb origin force once every century as a near rank 7. And this was after he made a compromise with other beings of laws. It was evident how precious world origin force was. No wonder the gods eliminated the Arcanists. They were trying to steal their meat. Even if I can use it, I definitely can't make it obvious, or the gods won't let me off. A legendary wizard with research into arcane spells wasn't much. However, one who could make use of the world origin force would definitely force the gods to act and crush him. Leyland felt that there was an increasing number of secrets he possessed. Revealing any one of them would leave him consigned to eternal damnation. In any case, I already have a lot to worry about. What's one more? Let it be. Leyland easily come to terms with this. Beep, host stats have been refreshed. Stat box refreshing. The AI chip projected a 3D image of Leyland, the numbers having gone through some changes. Leyland fallen. Race, human, legendary rank 21 Arcanist. Strength 15, agility 15, vitality 15, spirit 21. Arcane energy 210 status, healthy. Feats, legendary sturdiness, scholarly, intermediate perfect body, dreamscape vision. Specialties, origin force detection, arcane amplification, illusions. Analysis of weave. Level 0 100%, level 1 100%, level 2 100%, level 3 100%, level 4 100%, level 5 100%, level 6 100%, level 7 97.83%, level 8 66.56%, level 9 34.55%. Spell slots possessed, rank 9 3, rank 8 5, rank 7 7, rank 6, rank 5, rank 4, rank 3, rank 2, rank 1, rank 0. Ha! It's been over 20 years since my soul split and entered the world of gods. Am I finally at the peak of the mortal world? Sensing the boundless strength within his body, Leyland sighed in relief. He had finally reached the domain of a legendary. This was not just the peak strength that a mortal could achieve, but the beginning of an exemplary road. In order to digest divinity, ignite godfare, and become a god, being a legendary was a definite prerequisite. In addition, after becoming a legendary, the chance of dying was small as long as he was not too reckless, since the gods could not send their main bodies down. Now that his safety was covered, Leyland focused on something else. Now I need to obtain as much divinity as possible and digest it, and then ignite my godfare before becoming a god. I'll then get my main body to descend. Yes, only about a year is left till the floating city appears. I could try to obtain it. Leyland's movements were never hindered by anything. What he pursued was only truth and eternity. Everything else was like passing clouds to him. Great waves, I already contacted him via magic. He should come out immediately. Xena stood behind Jeffries, looking puzzled. With my lord's status, is there a need to stand on ceremony? However, Jeffries had no intentions of explaining himself. On the contrary, he stood even taller, like a pike that could pierce through the heavens, eyes fixed on the main entrance of the wizard tower. He's here, Jeffries exclaimed softly. Rumble. The main entrance opened to reveal Leyland, looking apologetic in his golden purple wizard robes. I never thought Lord Jeffries would come himself. Why does it feel like Leyland has changed? Xena sized up the young wizard in front of her, bewildered. While he looked just as young and handsome as before, she had a feeling that he had undergone a huge transformation. It's his aura. He's giving me the feeling of being on equal terms with Lord Jeffries. How is that possible when Jeffries is a legendary? Oh, Xena seemed to think of something and then vigorously shook her head as if trying to shake the thought out of her mind. What am I thinking? How is this possible? Indeed, my lord, you have entered the realm of legendary. The moment Jeffries said this, the entire group broke out in a ruckus. So he's really entered the legendary realm. How long has it been since we last met? Xena covered her little mouth, looking stunned. She wasn't the only one to forget herself in the moment. The others began to create a disturbance as well. This was a legendary wizard. The fallen family would now shake the outer seas. Legendaries held peak strength in the world of gods. They could influence the change of rulership and were even more important to a kingdom than the king. A kingdom without protection from a legendary could not last long. Although I did sense the energy from your breakthrough, I never thought it would be you. Your age, it's... Jeffries smiled wryly. Actually, even us old folks find it hard to believe. Age. It was only at this moment that Xena and the others reacted, Right, Lord Leyland is not even 25 yet. Gods, a 25-year-old legendary and a wizard at that. It's the hardest profession to advance in. There was too much shocking news, and the entire area turned mute as if everyone had been shocked stupid by Leyland's miracle. Heavens, gods, this. Xena now had no idea how to describe Leyland's aptitude. I'm very sure that he must be some miracle in the wizarding world. He'll definitely be written down in the records for eternity, and his achievements will be narrated to our later generations. I was just lucky. Leyland had a good-natured smile on his face. Whatever it was, since the goddess of wealth dispatched a legendary to protect him, he definitely had sensed their goodwill. Come, let's go in and discuss this further. Leyland seemed to only have Jeffries in his sights. Let's go! Jeffries appeared amiable to someone of similar rank, and Xena and the rest only found this natural. A legendary would only take another of the same level seriously. Similar strength was the prerequisite to associating with one another. This was the law everywhere. The god of murder's church. An old bishop was reading the information in his hand as he muttered to himself. Legendary might, and also a secret trump card that can kill other legendaries. Seems like the rise of the fallen family in the outer seas can no longer be stopped. Make it known that our men have to be very cautious while investigating. Try not to be discovered by him. Understood, Lord Bishop. A black-robed priest quickly bowed and left, knowing that they would give up their plans of revenge for now. There weren't all that many legendaries even in Syric's church. The fall of sorrows had already dealt them a huge blow, and before knowing what Leyland had up his sleeve, it was not a good idea to take such a risk. The god of murder never cared about honor anyway, and he was the best at conspiracies. With enough time, they could definitely bribe someone and break in, finding out all the secrets of this young legendary wizard. Within the Dambrath kingdom. The aging king had abandoned his afternoon entertainment for a report from a trusted aide. Hearing what was said, the king went silent for a long while before speaking in a low voice. So that wizard has already become a legendary? Yes, your majesty. Lord Jeffries of the Church of Wealth has proof of it. The person speaking was the king's trusted aide, as well as the leader of the court wizards. There was a tartness in this silver-eyed wizard's smile. He was only a high-ranked wizard himself, and Leyland advancing at such a young age was a huge blow for him. You're a wizard yourself. You should know this best. Speak without reservations and I'll trust in you. The king rubbed his temples in distress and then waved his arms. Understood, your majesty. The high-ranked wizard thought for a while and then spoke. Legendary strength is the peak in the secular world. It can even. I know. Get to the point. The king answered in annoyance. All right. The high-ranked wizard took a deep breath. Our first priority should be to avoid angering him. Thankfully, our information shows that he has good intentions towards us. He is a court wizard himself, and that status is something your majesty granted him. I believe we can also do what Marquis Gold Thornblossom proposed. Actually, a legendary wizard in our kingdom will surely be helpful in our diplomacy. Granting a title. The king took a deep breath and made his decision. Then let's do that. Take care of it for me. In a city near the north, the god of justice's church, a slender knight was piously praying to a god's statue. Divine force that was bright and full of righteousness rippled about her body, causing the young female knight's face to glow. At this moment, a benevolent old priest walked over. Raphania, the church has a mission for you to complete. Grandma Maria. Raphania immediately helped this priest who was so old she would pant with a few steps. I am also a member of this church. On top of that, you saved my life. If there's anything I can do, please tell me. Good. Maria gave a summary of what had happened at Fallen Island and then said, the church wants you to be the envoy. After all, you are friends with him. Leyland, I'll need to think about it. Raphania bit at her lips. After the priest left, the image of the young wizard appeared before Raphania's eyes, and all that she had experienced with him appeared vividly in her mind. Sulking after her attempt to get Leyland to help Silveramoon had failed, she'd headed to the battlefield on her own, arriving at the broken city. Gravely injured in the war, she was saved by the paladins of the God of Justice and accepted their call. She grew faith in the God of Justice and joined Tyr's church. Perhaps from the attraction from her very nature, she improved very quickly and was now already a formal paladin. With her training going well, she'd assumed her past was no longer important. Yet, such a thing was happening now. You've already become a legendary, Raphania muttered to herself, and then recalled the hot-blooded knights that had backed her up at Silveramoon. Their bones had all turned into ash. Those that chose to help are mostly dead, while you who chose rationale became a legendary. Are you trying to mock me? Raphania suddenly began to chuckle, the glimmering rays on her body now more distorted than ever. God, please forgive me for my lack of resolution before. I promise to stand by justice, and even death will not make me feel fear. Raphania immediately knelt by the statue and began to pray, looking decisive and cold. Even if you've become a legendary, I won't give up on my dreams and my path. At the end, I'll definitely prove to you that your decision was wrong. The only things in the world worthy of protection are love and justice. As news of Leyland's advancement spread, an increasing number of envoys from various organizations arrived at Fallen Island, causing Port Venus to be even more prosperous. Along with the envoys came large merchant groups, and all the merchants in the surrounding seas now chose to trade here. After all, the protection of a legendary was a considerable boon in the world of gods. Ordinary merchants only needed a fair and safe trading environment. This was only possible with enough strength. What was more persuasive to them than a legendary?